Welcome once again to the second part. I can number these things, right? So, but I mean, it's not gonna mess up the order. But yeah, we finished up the first one. We're not dead, so that's good. So either this isn't getting viewed by enough people, it hasn't reached them or they or whatever they like to call themselves nowadays, or we've actually done a really good job of masking our IP, where we really don't know who we are. Even we don't know who we are or where we are. Who knows? Who knows? But we're still alive, and yeah, we're doing part two. We're gonna get right to it. If you haven't heard what we're doing here in this series, then make sure you listen to part one. I'm not gonna talk for. My goodness, did I really talk that long? This thing says 10 minutes. The note that you gave me. I don't listen to these. Are you kidding me? I have better things to do, like making more videos. We're gonna hit it really quick with this one. We're basically talking to our good friends here, which if you've already figured out who they are, then you're much smarter than I give you credit for. No, not you, Soul, and not you, Papel. No, sir. So this is part two of our ongoing series, the Y2K virus. And the other virus, which will remain nameless, because I don't give free propaganda to things that are making money for people. Hey, what? You're not doing a special intro. Thanks. Yes, if you can't believe it, the virus that you're currently living through is making a boatload of money for a lot of people. I can't tell you who these people are, but if you don't believe me, just look at the stock market, look at the companies that have lost money when it comes to all the businesses that have failed, but also look at the companies that have actually made money. People don't focus on that. People focus on, hey, businesses are going bankrupt. Hey, there's no jobs. Hey, there's no money. Oh, but by the way, there's this big group of people. They're making money. Wow. I wonder how it is that they're making money while everyone else isn't. Yeah, interesting. Very interesting. Nobody ever looks at that side. They always want to give you, when the news turns on, the first thing you think of, or the first thing you hear is, hey, this bad thing happened, and this bad thing happened, and this bad thing happened. Okay, nice. Did anything good happen? Yeah, we'll tell you later, but not right now. Right now, let's just tell you all the bad stuff that's happening around you. Yeah, do you feel better? Obviously you don't, but we've scared you enough. Now we can give you the good news. Which, by the way, is never as good as the bad news, if you want to put it in a equal scale. But isn't that supposed to be blind? The balance of, good and bad. So here we go with part two. Enjoy.
Well, like I said, that's the basics of what you need to know about inside a computer. That's what it looks like inside a computer. That's unintelligible to any human being. The computer is simply looking at zeros and ones. What we've done as human beings is we've applied computer logic, and that again is at the root of all computer logic, is the if-then-else logic. If a certain condition exists or if it's true, then you perform a certain instruction and test again, and you keep on doing that until the condition is no longer true, and then you go to the next instruction. And that underlies, again, all computer systems and the logic.
Ones and zeros, the computer terminology, the language of the PCs. And something that kind of comes to me just based on curiosity. Were we not to assume that eventually this would be a problem? Creating a computer in the late 60s, early 70s, 30 years down the line, did we not anticipate that this would be a problem when it comes to the turn of the century? Moreover, what is your opinion in regards to the fact that most people just decide to blame Vice President Al Gore? I don't believe he was there when these computers were being created. Could you elaborate a bit as to what are we to expect when it comes to the solution to the problem?
Well, that's a great question to start with, actually. It allows me to say that this really isn't a technical problem. We're not hoping that someone, some genius is going to pop out of a closet somewhere and say, I've got it, this is the answer, everything's going to be okay. We actually know how to solve this problem. It's not technically difficult. Where we are now with 16 months to go is we have this enormous amount of effort that we've got to put in this thing in a period of time that doesn't allow us to get to everything. We have over 700 billion lines of code to deal with and over 50 billion microchips. And it's just a problem of having enough resources and time to deal with it. Had we started back in 1990 aggressively, we would be done.
1980, 1990, the guy doesn't even know what he's saying. But yeah, if you start looking at it from a psychological standpoint, and I use that term a lot, why is that so? Yeah, right, might as well use the degree for something other than, you know, wiping my... Anyways, the fact of the matter is this, that most of these answers, looking at it from this perspective now, the older version of myself, yeah, man, this is pretty like scripted. This is pretty much like, you know, he's being given a list of answers. He knows the questions that are going to be asked because I have to read them off of these notes. And even though I feel that I'm free to ask him whatever it is that I want to ask him, most of his answers are going to be very political. And I don't mean political in the sense that they're politically induced, but they're a politician's way of answering these questions. Hey, how does this... Well, to get to that answer, I'll probably have to, you know, walk around it and tell you about these other things that can also be very interesting. Kind of like using the whole term, oh, that's a very good question to start with. Man, that made me feel really good because I'm like, well, thanks, because that's the question you wrote here on this paper you have me reading. It's all a setup. It's all a setup, folks. It's scripted. Everything is scripted. No matter how well you think you understand the world, understand that the more information you're given, the more likely that it's been filtered and scripted to make you, again, what's that term we like to use, so? That's right. Give them the response that they need to get the agenda to continue in their favor. You can't win. You cannot win. So this is the main purpose why we decided to start this up. We're trying to deliver a good message, but at the end of the day, let's not kid ourselves. Thank you so much. I kind of have a hard time understanding. I remember having a conversation with an individual, which he wanted to remain nameless. I remember him telling me that his biggest concern was regarding the fact that if banks and institutions within the scale of financial ramifications, if they decided to fail, I don't want to say decided, but the way he worded it was that they were doing this on purpose. You can believe that. What would his best interest be to just go to any bank that he could go to, find the closest ATM that he could find, and just withdraw every single amount of digital currency? In other words, just wipe out every account that he has, checking, savings, bonds, treasury, anything that's currently up in the air, and have physical proof or physical money, and just keep it to himself, as opposed to believing that the system could actually work and there could be a solution.
We sure hope that people don't consider that as an option. That's a real bad idea. But what it's going to take to avoid that is some real candor. As Tony likes to say, people can't panic for 16 months. So if there was some real candor about the nature of the problem and where the bumps and turns in the road were going to be, I think the idea of people panicking and starting to take money out of banks and hoard supplies, and we're beginning to hear more and more of that, by the way, that wouldn't occur. But when we hear these continual rosy forecasts, and that despite really some rational look at the situation, you're sort of setting yourself up for what this gentleman is suggesting, is that right towards the end, if when things start going bad, people might panic. So we're real hopeful that we'll shine as much light as possible on this situation, and I think collectively we can take care of.
There it is again, folks. There it is again. 16 months. He actually touched on it. So, year 2000, go back 16 months, and that's when we did this show, video, interview. Oh boy. Anyways, yeah. Does that sound similar in any way? Like, hey, take all your money out of your bank and make sure you have it physically, because you never know, the banks might actually fail. Well, they won't fail because of the Y2K virus, but because of the pandemic that is currently ongoing, banks won't be open and you won't be able to have access to your money. So what you do is, here's the funny thing when it comes to banks. Did you know, Mr. Soul, did you know that a bank actually makes money off of you when it comes to withdrawing and depositing money into your account? Did you know that, Mr. Soul? Did you know that every time you take money out and you put money back in, that you're actually helping feed a system that actually generates... It's, I forgot what the system is called. I don't know what it's called now. I know what it was called back then. I can't say that word. But it's basically a system that integrates itself as like a survey, where it actually says X individual, whatever account number you have, which is your identification to the banks, X individual has taken out X amount of dollars, X individual has put back X amount of dollars, X individual, all that taking and depositing, and these banks use that as a way of inflating their numbers and stating, this is how much money has been fluctuating through our banks. This is how much money has been taken out. This is how much money has been put in. It doesn't matter if it's the same amount of money by the same customer for taking it out and putting it in, taking it out and putting it in, taking it out and putting it in. No, what matters is the amount of times and the amount of money that's being taken out and put back in, taken out and put back in. It's very similar to what they call the compound interest, which if you want to do any research, look that up. Look at compound interest when it comes to you taking money out. When you take out a loan, there was a video long time ago, somebody really touched on this subject, but any money that you take out, whatever money that is, the interest that you have to pay back with that money will never be enough to fulfill the money that you've taken out. In other words, if I were to borrow $1 today, and it's the only dollar in the history of mankind, and you told me, hey, you have to pay me back that dollar with interest, where would I get that interest? Oh, I know, I'll create more money to give you to pay back that interest. Okay, but now I have $2. So I used the $2 to pay back the $1, right? But wait, you loaned me the second dollar, so now I owe you for that dollar. Well, I owe you that dollar with interest. So now you have to create a third dollar, and a fourth dollar, and a fifth dollar. Eventually, no matter how you want to word it, you can never get completely out of debt because you'll always have to pay back whatever you borrowed plus new money that you need to get somehow, some way. Usually we get it from someone else, from another person, another job, another form of income, but they have to get it from somewhere, and they have to get it from somewhere. So at the end of the day, no matter how much money you get, you always have to pay back that money plus more money on top. So this whole idea of grabbing all your money, taking it out of the banks, yikes, that sounds very familiar. The reason is different. It's not a virus that's going to kill the banks, but it's a virus that's going to kill people from going to the banks. So regardless, here we are 20 years later, we're still doing the same thing. Panic. Chaos. What's the best solution? Go to your bank and take out all your money. Why? Because you never know. That bank might not be there the next time. Why? Because we're not going to let people go to the bank. Oh, so you're going to stop me from actually going to the bank. Oh, well, that's a lot easier than telling me the bank doesn't know the difference between 9900 and 2000. Hey, there you go. So just another example, folks. Another example. Another similarity to what was happening back then in the year 2000 and what's happening now. And mark my words when I say this, what will happen 20 years from now. Because it's all cyclical. Cyclical? Is that a real word? It's all an endless cycle. It's the same script written over and over and over and over again. Nothing changes except the people that are involved. And the people that are very old, that can give you pointers because they've lived through it, guess what they're getting right now? Yeah, exactly. The oldest people are the ones that are getting affected by not so much the virus, but what is supposedly the cure for the virus. And what's actually going to end up, becoming so much worse when you start seeing the result from, ask yourself this, wouldn't the most important people be the ones to be first taken care of when it comes to, hey, look, we found the cure to this virus. Yeah, let's take care of who? The oldest and most fragile and easily the hardest to replace when it comes to their knowledge, their experience, and everything that they have. Let's get rid of them, and then we'll just keep everyone else who's, completely new and doesn't know what's happening. Let's get rid of all the old computers that, can't be as advanced as the current computers, and let's replace them with new, more advanced computers. We get rid of the old so that we can replace it with the new. But the new never is quite as good as the old. We'll get back to the rest of the... Oh, man. This series is going to run for the next 20 years. Yes. We definitely want to avoid mass panic and mass chaos. Taking your money out, putting it underneath your mattress, not the way to go. My friends, I'd like to touch base on another topic. Not to disrespect the fact that you and your friend have decided to and honored us by joining and giving this dialogue when it comes to questions and answers. Again, the question that I would like to pose, scratching at the back of my head, what is the government itself doing in regards to trying to solve the problem? While we want to have a messiah to come out of the closet, as you explained, and save us all with some genius solution, what is the government itself doing in order to protect the people that put most of these gentlemen and ladies into positions of power to protect us? What can we expect from the government when it comes to an actual solution?
In this program, you'll want to stick around because John Koskinen will be on. He's effectively the president's czar on this problem and dealing with this, and specifically for the federal government. But also Congressman Horn, who follows me on this program, has been doing some oversight on the government. The government's own report on itself says that there are about a half a dozen agencies that are in serious trouble. The rest are somewhere in between. There's one shining star, that's Social Security. That should make people feel pretty good. I think that's a big concern, but Social Security is doing a great job.
Thank you so much, sir. Yes, I do have a copy of the report card. We're going to show that now on the screen. Social Security Administration, as you stated before, an A+ with a 92. Very good, very good. Towards the bottom, we have environmental, the state, health, energy, and transportation. Energy is a bit of a concern as it relates to these electronic Y2K issues. However, I do also see health and human services as a problem as well. My friends, this is a problem when it comes to technology. I am very novice in these terms. However, I'd like to think that if we were able to somehow fix or alleviate some of the stress that comes from the 700 million or so individual lines of code, could we see ourselves where we may even be able to mass produce a solution that in itself would actually recreate other solutions? In other words, having computers that already are fixed and can are Y2K proof actually help fix other computers and other computers and other computers. A sort of anti I don't want to say virus, this isn't really a virus, but a system cleanup that self-generates even more system cleanup. Can we mass produce that in a way that we don't need the actual resources in manpower, if we can put it in those terms? We can actually have the computers work for us and actually help in creating a solution for the rest of the computers.
Hundreds, and now we're beginning to see thousands of very bright entrepreneurial folks coming up with pieces to the puzzle.
Such as the two of you?
Afraid not, wish you were, but no, what we're trying to do is try to help assess some of these new procedures, these new techniques. Some are excellent. Others, you have to wonder about the intent of the people putting them out. I do believe there's going to be a whole bunch of charlatans, silver bullet experts, people trying to sell quick and dirty solutions that won't work. And so what we're trying to do is just shine some light on the ones that are professionally developed and actually do help automate the part of the problem that is susceptible to that. But the bottom line, Brian, is that you can only automate so much of this process. The rest of it needs people, time, computer resources, and those are all in short supply.
Very good, very good. What would you say to most of the call-outs, these individuals who are calling out for the experts, the people that actually created said computers, the Steve Jobs, the Bill Gates, these entrepreneurs to a certain extent, but these computer creators, wouldn't they have a solution to the fact that they created the problem in a way? I don't mean to say that this was done with malintent, but is it fair to say that we, the people, can call and say, hey, you created these computers, you've created this issue, you should be the ones in charge of creating the solution and solving these problems?
Calls, actually, they allow us to get right to the heart of the matter. There will be no silver bullet to solve this problem because there isn't any single solution that can do it. It's just far too complex. So it's important for the American people to, if they hear that, to just ignore it. Bill Gates can't solve this problem. No individual can. It's just too complex. I guess the other thing in terms of these solutions, they are important, they are helpful. We do have some excellent tools out there, but they only solve a relatively small portion of the problem. The biggest problem with this issue is testing. And testing isn't something you can schedule. It takes as long as it takes.
So you saw there, it's about a three-part question. I didn't want to interrupt because all three basically fall in line with each other. So it was basically kind of like a trilogy of questions. The first one was a report card where you noticed that there was a Social Security at the very top with an A+. Yes, Social Security, that's nice. Okay, so in the year 2000, computers aren't going to work, but hey, at least I could still receive my Social Security check. What's the age, the average age group that receives Social Security? Okay, keep that number in mind, Now, what's the average age group that has been affected most by this current pandemic and this current virus? Uh-oh, whoops, there you go, correlation. Yeah, that's right, folks. That's why I'm here and you're there. Now, towards the bottom, really interesting, this was back then in the year 2000. Towards the bottom, you see some of the ones that are getting Fs. What do you know? Health and Human Services. Health and Human Services? F? What do you mean F? Well, F means that they're not prepared. F means that they rely and they depend so much of their services to technology that the fact that if their computers didn't work, we're talking about a massive, massive pandemic to the point where forget about the fact that you'll go to a hospital and there's no beds because everybody's sick. We're talking about back then going to a hospital and not being allowed inside because there's no electricity. Not being allowed inside because there's no computers to find out if you have insurance or not. Not being allowed inside and getting health because we just can't even run the elevators that go up and down. That's the scary part. The things that you see down there, the Environmental Protection Agency, I have no idea what that's doing there. The EPA has always been, about, the environment. I don't know how they depend so much on technology, but that might be something to look into. You got state, you got, you can look back in the video if you want. Can we show that again? Nah, it's not that important. It was in the year 2000. What does it matter? I'm sure now the report card is probably upside down. Like the pyramid. Remember that health pyramid? At the very top, you had the most healthy foods. At the very bottom, the worst foods. Now it's actually flipped upside down. What's that all about? But wait a minute, I grew up thinking that the pyramid was this way. Yeah, well, we were wrong. Okay, what happened to Pluto? What Pluto? The dog? No, the planet. What planet? There is no planet. It's not considered a planet anymore. We changed our mind. What? Man, so I grew up learning one thing, and now I'm told it's the exact opposite in the health pyramid. And I grew up thinking there were this many planets. Now I know there's this many. And now there's other planets that are being discovered. What? Like, folks, again, I'm not making this stuff up. This is the way the world is. Something that you know today, you're probably not going to know it tomorrow. And the next day, it might change again. And next year, it might change. So if you stand up and say, hey, I believe this to be true, even if you have facts, even if you have your opinion, even if you have what's called knowledge, which, dictates that you should be right, sad to say, laddie, but that knowledge was implemented by a group of individuals that could just as easily change their mind and say, yeah, well, they won't say they were wrong. They never say they're wrong. What they say now is that we've corrected, we've updated, we've refreshed, we've found new evidence that proves such and such and such and such. They could just come out and say, yeah, we were wrong. We didn't know. We made it up back then. You have faith, Tinkerbell. You have faith in what we said. Now have faith in what we're saying now. Because back then we were wrong, but right now we're not wrong. We're actually right. And, 5-10 years from now, we'll probably say the same thing about what we're saying now, which we said then. And it goes on and on and on. So I just wanted you to, to focus on that. Health and Human Services at the very bottom. The gentleman then goes on to say, the other gentleman, he starts explaining that no silver bullet, there's no magic solution to this. At one point, they even ask about the actual. Oh, did you notice too? One of the gentlemen, he was writing down, not the technological guy, the suave guy, with his pencil. He's writing down on a paper. That's actually a sign to me, telling me next question, like the question, because it's a 3-part question. So he's making sure that the questions get answered in the correct order. So afterwards, then you have the other part of it where we even ask. I mean, I probably shouldn't have asked, but I couldn't help myself. It's like there's a lot of individuals that are currently helping to solve the problem. I'm like you guys. And he's the smart guy here, the tech guy, the tech head. He actually, straight up says, no, sorry, Frey, not us. Boom! We're not here for the solution. We're here to warn you of the problem. Can we solve this problem? Absolutely not. But what we can do is tell you about it so that you can figure it out. Just be careful. Don't fall for those quote-unquote charlatans. Don't fall for those people that are going to lie to you with the magic silver bullet. And he's right. He's right. This is a problem that happens a lot in society. Even what's happening now. You're going to have a lot of people that will say, hey, buy this product, antibacterial. Hey, wear this product, mask. Hey, use this. Hey, use that. And guess what? You're still sick. And guess what? You're still dying. How many people have died currently that are wearing masks, that are wearing gloves, that are using antibacterial this, antibacterial that, and they're still dying? So what's the point? If you're going to do all this to protect yourself and you're still going to die, what about those other people that aren't doing anything and are still alive? What, are they anomalies? Are they immune because they're magically selected by some higher power? Come on! Come on! Come on! Can I do like a little whiny thing? No, not the donkey! Yeah, that kind of does sound like, come on. Yeah. Folks, this is what we're trying to show you. We're trying to tell you that it ain't always the way you think it is. Because at the end, they could just turn around and say, guess what? We were wrong. Yeah, the numbers were a bit inflated. Yeah, those hospitals that are completely filled with people, which they are. And look, I'm not trying to say that if you've had someone, if you know of someone, if you've heard of someone, if you feel that you're close to someone that has been affected by this, that's fake. No, not at all. There are people that are dying and have died, and it's very sad. But I'm not saying that they're dying specifically because of some pandemic virus. What I'm saying is that a lot of these tools and resources, like the gentleman said, the charlatans that are just taking your money and telling you that everything is going to be okay if you follow these steps and you go through these rules, a lot of them are just talking out of their, now you can do the donkey thing. And of course you're not going to do it. Leave me hanging. Wow, really? Yeah, thanks. Yeah, that kind of sounds like it. It's just a matter of knowing what is right and what is wrong, and not just full-heartedly believing that they're going to do everything in their power to do what's best in your interest. I'm sorry, but they don't care about you that much. They just don't, and they never will, because you don't deserve to be cared for. You bicker and fight amongst each other so much that there's no reason that I would ever, if I were in charge, I would even care to try and help you. Why? What makes you feel more special than the person who lives next to you? What makes you feel more special than the person who works next to you? What makes you feel more special than the person that's next to you in line? Nothing. You're all the same. In my eyes, I'm in charge because I'm way outside of this bubble. I'm way outside of this this elaborate world that you have created for yourself. And I am not going to get stuck in your little mindless games. But I am going to control you. I am going to tell you, hey, this is the way it is, and you better obey. And if you don't obey, society's going to kick you out. Oh, you don't do this, then we don't do that. And that's the way it is. This is a simple method in learning that back then, there were a lot of people that were selling a lot of fake solutions. There were a lot of people that were giving you, hey, just run this and run that. And they took advantage of people that were, I got to see this word again, not ignorant. Maybe ignorant is the right word. Ignorant is not as bad as you think, because ignorance is nothing more than not having the ability to learn something. And there were a lot of people, even nowadays, that I see it all the time. I see individuals who have, the fanciest cell phones, the fanciest watches, the fanciest this, the fanciest that. And back in the day, those are the same people that couldn't, change the time on their VCR. You remember what a VCR was? Well, look it up. Look it up. Now I guess you could say it's on a microwave. You're not technologically sound, but yet you have advanced tools at your disposal. And that's a problem. That's a problem, because if you knew how to use these tools to their full capacity, I guarantee you wouldn't be using these tools. There would be no reason to. But like a child with a brand new shiny toy, you're fascinated by the gadgets and the gizmos and the bells and the whistles and, ooh, this is a lot of fun. I have the X23 and the G97 and the, I don't know, it's just simple. It's just simple mythology to controlling the masses. And these are the questions that were being asked back then, and these are the answers that were being given, and they're very similar to stuff that's going on now. So don't feel bad. Don't feel that I've disrespected you in some way. This obviously is the end of this video, and as you know, we're going to the next one, and the next one, and the next one. So, by the way, how long are we planning to record these? The way it looks, we're doing a video off of every 15 minutes. So if I divide that up by the amount of content that we actually have, we should be finishing episode 55 in the next 2 weeks. Oh, man.
You've just been erased.